What's up, everybody? My name is Michelle, and this is Horror Book Hell Hound. So it's been a hot minute since I uploaded anything. I'm not gonna lie, I am horrible at uploading. I am horrible at maintaining a schedule. These are just areas of my life that I do not excel at currently, but we're going to continue to push through and try. We're going to keep trying to get back on track. I did recently start a new job, I believe last month. Yeah. Last month I started a new job. It is hellaciously busy and stressful and takes up a good chunk of my life. So that's probably why you haven't seen much of me within the past few months, but I am ready to get back to it, and I am ready to talk about books again. A few people in my life currently are wanting us to talk about other things on this channel, so I'll probably put a poll up sometime soon to get y'all's opinion on what all you would like to see at this channel, or with this channel. I have an old YouTube channel. A lot of you who actually interact with me on here are privy to that. I used to cover a lot of different topics, from real life paranormal encounters to more psychological reviews of horror movies and things like that. So if those things spark your interest, or if you would like me to start getting back to those topics, let me know. I can for sure make some videos along those lines to get a taste of it. But first things first, let's go ahead and dive into what I've been reading lately. Also, if you hear a shit ton of dogs barking in the background, just get over it, because my dog and my mother's dogs are having a good old time today. So I guess I'll start with books from last month and just kind of segue into a couple of books I finished up this month. I'm still working on this month's TBR, which I know I haven't shared with you guys, so that will be a surprise for y'all. Last month I read Tamed by a Beast by Miranda Bridges. This is the second book in the Hearts of Stone series by Miranda Bridges. I actually really loved this book, more so even than the first one. I know, because like when I read, and they're very short books, very short. You could easily read these in one sitting if you have the time. Like, this book is less than 200 pages, so easy sit down. When I read the original one, which I think was it Seduced by a Beast? Fuck, I don't remember. When I read the first one in this series, I was not sold on the idea, and I was just kind of like, it was alright. But I really loved this one. I loved the character development. I loved seeing a little more humor play out with our characters. And this one felt a little smoother in the transitionary periods of the story. So I just really enjoyed this one a lot more. So I am going to continue on with the series and get the third one, and of course I will let you guys know how that goes. But if you're wondering, with this series we have basically gargoyle alien creatures who have purchased a slew of human women who I guess were kidnapped from Earth. I don't fucking know all the ins and outs. From what I can understand, some of Miranda Bridges, like her different series, kind of overlap and are in the same universes, or the same universe, from what I can tell. But I've only read this one, so I'm not certain on that. But yeah, gargoyle alien creatures. I don't really know what else to say beyond that. You know, this is some good classic monster smut, and it's actually really enjoyable. It's not just dumb. Like, don't get me wrong, there are really dumb moments, but all in all, this is what I would call top tier monster smut. Speaking of top tier monster smut, I also finished up A Soul to Touch by Opal Rain. This book is fucking phenomenal. It is part of the Duskwalker Brides series. This is book 3. I love the way that Opal Rain writes. Okay, now these are obviously much chunkier than the Hearts of Stone series. You get so much depth to these characters. You get so much storyline and character growth and world building, and just, you get so much plot. You get so much to these that you cannot just categorize them as monster smut. Like, yes, don't get me wrong, this is just beautiful, beautiful monster smut. But because you get so much else, like you get so much added to it, so much romance and fantasy, it's lovely. It's so fucking lovely. And this story in particular was really awesome. So we have our Duskwalkers, these guys. I'm not going to honestly dive too much into what they are and the ins and outs of the plot that drives this series, because honestly, that could be an entire video in and of itself. But just know that if you are interested in reading monster smut, but you also enjoy an actual story, and some fantasy and some romantic, softer sides to it, also, these are great books. Like, these are such good books. Oh my fucking god, I love them. But anyway, let me stop ranting and raving for a minute. The next book that I read, I believe, was a debut for a first-time author. I could be wrong, but it is Stolen by the Orc Commander by K.L. Wyatt. So if you are on Book Talk, you have probably seen this cover a few times. I ordered her swag kit, so I got some cute little art prints and stickers, and yeah. So okay, the goods and bads about this book. The good thing is it's very short. It's kind of along the lines of the Hearts of Stone series. Very short, it's very to the point. Because it's a debut novel, I would caution you to go into this with low expectations, just because I do not think it is completely fair to judge someone's first novel like it's supposed to be just some pristine, perfect thing, if that makes sense. Because a lot of authors, a lot of artists in general, they learn and they grow as they go. You know what I mean? So I did go into this with very low expectations, but was very surprised at how much I loved the characters and the world building. There was a good amount of plot. There was a great amount of setup for this series, because this is going to be a series. It is called The Brides of the Frostwolf Clan series. This is book 1. And yes, I mean, obviously you can tell that Monster Dick is a thing for me. To be fair, the reason I read so many Monster Smut books last month is because we were doing March Monster Madness, I believe is what it was called, over on Book Talk. And yeah, so I had my fair share of Monster Peen, alright? I got my fair share. But I was very pleasantly surprised that I really enjoyed the characters as much as I did. There were some editing mistakes that kind of irked me here and there, but again, debut novel, we don't expect perfection. I think it's just a really good start, and I'm on board. I'm on board to see where this goes for sure. All right, to round out the monster smut that I read for March, we have Her Soul for Revenge by Harley LaRue. And this, again, is part of a series. This is book 2 in the Souls trilogy. I believe the first one is called Her Soul to Take. I'm pretty sure. Don't quote me on that though, because it's been a hot minute since I read that one. Again, much larger book, kind of like, you know, A Soul to Touch by Miss Opal Rain. There's way more plot. There's way more character development. It's not all about the sex, although holy fucking shit, is there a lot of sex in this book. And it's good sex scenes, okay? Like, you know how people will watch porn? I don't really understand why anyone watches porn nowadays, because it's all so crappy. But, and there will be like really good porn, and then there will be like what people expect porn to be, which is just subpar, not very pleasant. This is the good porn. We have our demon. His name is Zane, which is so fucking funny, and I'll tell you why that's funny here in a minute. But his name is Zane. We have our female protagonist. Her name is Juniper. Obviously, there's a soul tie here going on. But anyway, their story is fucking phenomenal. I really do encourage you to read the first one. But technically, I feel like you could read this series out of order and it would still kind of make sense. Because this book is all about Zane and Juniper. Their perspective on a plot that is happening also in the first book. And the timelines kind of coincide a lot. So I would still say check out the first book first, obviously. But this one is so good. This one gets a lot darker, in my opinion, than the first book. I feel like this one has a good mixture of monster smut and dark romance, because there's just some topics in this one that are not quite present in the first one. So, yeah. Next up, I decided to completely traumatize myself in every form and fashion, and I read Hunting Adeline by H.D. Carlton. It has been a hot minute since I read Haunting Adeline. And you know, I had heard a lot of people say that this second book, the final book in the duology, was a lot darker, and I was like, how could it possibly get any darker? This book destroyed me in ways that a book never has before. Okay? And don't get me wrong, like, I've had books make me weep openly and cry before, but something about this book, especially the first half of it, just kind of broke me a little bit. If you are a very empathetic person and you tend to relate very strongly to the characters that you're reading about, I caution you on reading this book, just because it will kind of fuck with your head a little bit, and it can definitely fuck with your moods. So keep that in mind. This book touches on some of the darkest topics I have ever read about in a dark romance. And I'm not by any means like a dark romance reader. Like, that's not usually my thing, even though it does kind of cross into the realm of monster smut. But now I'm almost somewhat obsessed with learning more about dark romance, because there's definitely different tones to dark romance than there are to monster smut or to regular romance, paranormal romance. Like, there's something different about it, and it definitely made me feel all of the fucking feels. Like, so much feels that I almost lost my shit for a little bit. But definitely still phenomenal book. Second half of the book, a lot of people were redeemed that I did not think I would be able to redeem. So, big chunker, just like the first one. But yeah, just check your trigger warnings, because they really do mean something with this one. Just saying. And last but not least, I actually read this book at the beginning of April. It's a short little book. I really needed a break. After Hunting Adeline, I needed a break from all romance, from all smut. I just needed a breather from it. So, you know, I went back to horror. Probably not the wisest choice if I'm trying to, like, check my emotions and my mood swings a little bit, but I decided to read Come Closer by Sarah Gran. And again, very short little book. I sat down and read this in an evening, and it only took me like just 2 or 3 hours to read. Like, less than 200 pages. Not a difficult read by any means, but so good. Can we just say so good? I've had this book in my fucking book cabinet, just sitting in there for about a year or possibly a year and a half at this point. And for some reason, I was just never in the mood to read it. And I finally was. I finally was just like, you know what? This book's been sitting in my fucking book cabinet forever. It's a demonic possession book, so why have I not prioritized that? Because that is so my thing. That is so my thing. I read this book, and it did nothing to heal me from hunting Adeline. If anything, it fucked my head up worse. But it fucked my head up in a very interesting way. I probably shouldn't be saying that on here, but anyway. Very good book. Yeah, I'm just gonna leave it at the fact that it is a demonic possession story, but it's not your stereotypical demonic possession plot that involves priests and exorcisms and stuff like that. It's more of a very dark, twisty, turny tale. Very much not a feel-good book by any means, but at the end of the day, such a good book. Such a good book. We'll definitely be keeping that one. So that's pretty much it, guys. The past couple of months, I haven't read a whole lot. That's all I've been reading lately. I am trying to get back into reading more horror and true crime for the next month or so. And then we'll circle back around at some point to our beloved monster smut and dark romances. But in the meantime, I am coming up with some new ideas for doing things a little bit differently on this channel. I've been getting really burnt out with life in general, so if you see some very random videos come up in the future, just know that that's my attempt at coping with life and just enjoy the ride, alright? So in the comments down below, please let me know what you guys have all been reading for the past few months, what you've been up to, and if you haven't subscribed already, I hope that you will. I hope you'll stick around. And I will see you all in the next video. Peace out, Hell Hounds.